Welcome to another episode of Perceptional Imprints, and I have Manon here today with me. And Manon is coming from France, so she's our guest in Montreal. Welcome to Montreal, Manon.
Hello, thank you very much for having me.
My pleasure. And Manon, if you could introduce yourself and tell what you do in life, and firstly, what brings you to Montreal.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for having me here. Well, my name is Manon. You pronounced it well. Thank you very much.
I tried, at least I tried. Yeah.
So I'm 24.
Uh-huh.
I'm French, and what I do in life. So if I'm doing the Frenchy thing, I will talk about my job.
Okay.
But this is not what we're going to talk about today. So we'll not be talking about my job.
Okay.
But basically, what I do in life is figuring out what I want to do in life, and that's a big process.
That's a good start.
Yeah,
that's a good start. That's a good start.
And trying to live every day to its fullest.
Mm-hmm.
And apart from that, what I do is traveling. Traveling. This is why I'm here.
Oh, nice.
Because I'm visiting a friend, a French friend, who lives here now.
French friend?
Yeah, French friend.
From France.
From France.
From France.
And this is how we met.
Okay, nice. So it's a funny conversation. Why we are here today is we were actually having a conversation about relationships.
Yes, exactly.
So do you want to elaborate on that?
That's a funny conversation that we had because it was very spontaneous.
Yes, it was.
We instantly started talking quite deeply about stuff and then about relationships. And I've told you this is a topic that I really want to talk about since it has had a lot of importance in my life for several years. And this is a topic that really matters to me because I've been trying to figure out how to define relationships and how do they have impacted my life for the last couple of years since I'm an adult. So it's been several years now. This is why I wanted to talk about this topic, because it has importance to me and I really believe it has importance to a lot of people.
A lot of people who are listening. And what since you talked about you had these relationships, but what according to you is, or you would define a perfect relationship?
A perfect relationship.
Or a relationship that's like an ideal relationship.
I think to answer that question, you really need to think about what a relationship is. Like, take the origin of the world and take the origin of its meaning. And I think it's very personal. If you ask someone else
they would have,
they will have a different answer. But for so many years, I thought that relationships were only like the interactions you have with other people, with your environment, but people mostly. And this has been like the center of my reflections for so many years. And I think that was a problem because I've just thought that relationships were between you and other people. And I've worked on that because it caused me a lot of problems, a lot of issues with love relationships and friendships. And so I started to work on that definition to have a wider definition. And I then realized that relationships are just interactions, and that's it. It's just about how you connect with other people, but also with yourself. And that was a huge missing part.
A relationship with your own self.
But that's not something that we are used to think about. We are not being told or we don't learn how to communicate with ourselves, and we don't learn how to be great with ourselves. And that's a problem because I was only seeing a tiny scope of the relationship definition, and I was struggling a lot with my relationships to others, but it was because I didn't have the reflection to think about my relationship with myself. So I was only seeing one part of the screen, and the other part was like completely hidden. And because of that, I was having issues with my relationships to others.
Just wanted to also tell you, feel free to use any French words if in case you feel like. For everyone who's listening, she's from France, and she's doing her best to actually speak in English. And I appreciate, thank you for that, Manu. So you talked about personal relationships.
Yep.
Do you want to elaborate on that? Like what was going wrong with yourself, or what did you identify that, okay, this is wrong, or I could work on it? And that's where the point hit you, like, okay, I'm not taking care of myself, or my relationship with my own self is not good. Like, what made you realize?
I think it was because I was repeating the same patterns with my relationships to others.
Okay.
And let's talk frankly on that. My love relationships were all the same. I was having this role of, the nurse syndrome. I don't know if it's a well-known syndrome, but it's like when you want to save people from their traumas, and you think that if you save them, they will love you. That's just the very simple basis of this.
It's
thing.
like you're expecting back love. I mean, like it's like a transaction.
Yeah, it's
like a
exactly,
transaction.
it's a transaction. It's like a form of, if I give you this, you will not give up on me, and you will stay with me.
Yeah.
And that's quite toxic. When I say it right now, it's really toxic.
Yes. It makes sense. It does make sense, and I believe like who is listening would also relate to it, because I mean, if there's no expectation in return, then that's pure love. But if you're expecting something, or you're trying to give something and expecting to keep someone with you, it's like a bondage again. You're just holding them and then not letting it free.
But when I was having this type of behavior, I thought it was pure love, because to me that was like the most altruistic thing that you can do. Like, if you give 100% of myself to a person, then they will not leave. That's just very simple. But it did not turn out this way.
Okay.
And I was repeating this with different types of person and with different types of behavior in front of me, but the same pattern was on repeat. Me trying to putting 100% of myself into a relationship, and then the same ending was happening over and I just thought, maybe this is not that I'm dating toxic people, it's just maybe that myself, I have toxic traits, and I have this, the way you present it makes it really toxic, but it is. And this is why I asked why and how I started to reflect on myself. And let's be honest, I've been helped. It didn't happen overnight. Maybe I have a problem. Maybe I need to fix this and that. It's just, it's been a process. I've been seeing therapists since I was like 17, so it's been 7 years now.
Wow. Okay.
That's been a whole journey.
That's commendable, because a lot of people actually live in denial, and I've talked multiple times about that, because there's a problem, but you don't feel that it's your problem. It's like, oh, okay, it's happening. Maybe it's someone else's fault. It's not my own fault. But realizing that you're at fault is a big thing. And once you realize, and like this, there are two parts of it, right? Once you realize and you want to change. I could just realize and like, oh, okay, maybe I just realized and I'm like, that's probably how I am. No, second is like, I take the initiative to act. And what you did is like commendable. Again, 7 years is a huge thing.
What you talk about is really interesting, because there's a big gap between like realizing and then acting in favor of this change. And sometimes it could take like several years, just to start realizing that maybe something is wrong with you or relationship with yourself. And that's not something only based in your environment, because that's easier. And that's what a lot of people do, and they can't be blamed for that. I mean, it's easier to say, oh, this is the environment. I've been only with toxic people, or I've been raised this way, or I lack love, so this is why I'm acting like this. But when you say, hey, maybe there is something wrong about how I behave, that's a huge step. And some people just get stuck in this step, because that's really hard.
Really hard to identify, even identify and
And then to move forward and say, okay, I have this thing on my hands. I have this big suitcase. I like to figure it out like a suitcase. Like I have this big suitcase of things that I've done, of mistakes, of also like positive points and good things about me. How do I turn this into a strength, and how do I push myself out of my comfort zone? Like it's a tiny unbalanced movement, just to push yourself a little bit, so that you change what could be changed, but with at the same time keeping what makes you. Like for example, like back to my example of wanting to save people, I think I'm no longer like this, but I know that I still like to be present for other people, for my relatives, for my friends, in my love relationships, and that's something that I'm proud of. So I've turned this issue and this big problem into something positive by not erasing, but changing the way I saw it.
Okay, so would it also, if I have to understand, you still do it, and again, it's a process, it's a lifelong process, but is it something that you're also expecting back again as like appreciation or something, that acknowledgement that, a lot of, I mean, I was in the same boat as I mentioned earlier. I was in the same boat. I've done things, but I've never got acknowledgement. I've never got that appreciation, and now I don't care. I'm saying it on camera. I'm like, I've told multiple times I don't care how I live and whatnot. So is it something that you were looking for?
That I was looking for, yes. That I'm still looking for, yes.
Okay.
This is why I think part of the healing process and accepting a relationship with yourself is accepting what makes you. Even like, I know I like appreciation, and this is a driver for me. Like, for example, at work, and some people are not like this. They can work for themselves without any motivational speeches and stuff. That's not me. And I know that. I used to be not ashamed of it, but I was pretending to be like, a strong, independent person that doesn't need anyone or any feedback. But that's not true, and I've just accepted that. I'm trying to make my environment as safe as possible and as okay with this part of me. Comfortable, and that is aligned with this part of me, and it works. Because, for example, I say I wouldn't talk about work, but let's do a little break here.
Yeah, sure.
For example, at work, my colleagues know that this is how I work. This is how I like to be driven. I need a little bit of appreciation. Not like anytime I create something, of course, but when there's a big step, when there's a big achievement, yes, I'm the type of person who says, I encourage people and I like to be encouraged.
And I think it's a fair deal, because I mean, if you feel the workplace is not appreciative, if you feel it's not acknowledging what you're doing, then probably you're at the wrong workplace. I mean, yes, no one is asking for appreciation or acknowledgement every single, I did this, I fixed this, I don't know.
So cool.
But at least for your big achievements, at least something that you feel you're proud of, or at least you're adding value to it. And if that's not acknowledged, whatever it is, like a simple thank you, or simple that's a good thing you did, something as tiny as possible, but that makes the other person feel good.
And once you're proud of it, it turns everything better. Like when you're passionate, when you're okay with it, when you're feeling confident about it, it makes things way easier. Like when you say yes, I know that I'm a people pleaser. I know that I want to make everyone happy. That's not always the best, but I know that it makes me do things for other people that are appreciated. And when I do stuff on a work level or the personal level, I like to be I like when people are grateful for that, but it's just fine. Once you're okay with it, your environment makes it okay also.
I have this that's a beautiful point you brought up. I wanted to add on that, because there are two things. Being appreciated it's really good, and being grateful. So
exactly.
like you do something for someone and they just take it and I'm like, oh, take you for granted, then it's something you probably have to have second thoughts on. Because yes, you're doing your deeds. It's okay, but at least don't you don't expect anything in return that's bad.
Exactly.
Like negative comments. Okay, I did it. If you don't want to be appreciative, if you don't want to be thankful, grateful, it's okay. But don't be toxic on that front.
Exactly.
And
what you said about grateful is very interesting also. Like being grateful is something that, when I say I'm a people pleaser or when I say I need appreciation, it's because I know that with myself and for others, I'm trying my best to be grateful. And this is I've been practicing like gratitude. And it changed my life. Like, because it makes me see the good in so many things.
Yeah, absolutely.
In nature, in everyday stuff, like you're being given like a free thing, like a free thing outside of the subway. Just someone gives you something. You see a beautiful flower. You see. Some people call it like being like a child, but I don't feel the same way. I just think like it's really, really important, and this is why I'm so okay with asking for gratitude, is because I am being grateful to everything that I live, that I do, that I experience. So I think it's fair.
Absolutely. I had a recent realization actually on a meditative state that as you mentioned, like you are full by yourself. Everyone's full by one own self, but everyone needs people around, support, gratitude, and all. So I had this recent realization. I used to deny help. So I'm like, oh no, okay, I would do it, even though I'm probably still figuring it out. I'm trying to, like, how do you say? I've been a giver. And like I assume the same because I get the same vibes. And once you're like giving, you feel that you're not ready to accept at one point because I'm a giver. How can I accept? So it's sort of it might sound foolish, but the ego comes into play. And then yes, you realize that how can I take it when I'm giving? It doesn't matter what it is, even if it's the tiniest thing. You just tend to take or build up your walls, and that actually would you're carrying that along. So I had that recent realization where it just like it sounded so, I mean, it was super powerful experience because when you offer help to someone and someone denies it, you really feel, and I felt that, okay, why did this person not ask me for help? Even though that person knew I was doing this or I could have helped. So I'm talking actually, I mean, I didn't want to talk about it, but it's just one of my friends recently committed suicide. And she knew I talk about mental health. She knew I do all this. So I was sort of questioning my own self, like, why? Why? Like, it could have been just like she could have reached out to me. She could have done that. And then I felt like, why? Because probably she felt she was strong enough and she didn't needed help. And I realized I was doing the same, or someone else. Like, most of the people do the same thing. And in that process, you don't allow yourself to be helped, and you're struggling you're fighting your own battles. So I just wanted to point that out, and what you mentioned. So it's just
the asking for help, that's a huge topic.
That's a huge topic, and I would love to cover that someday, or if you want to share something about it, because I feel so strong that it's okay to, I mean, no one would remember, let's say, if you have asked for something, no one even has the time to think what you said, what you asked for. Like, you don't even remember what you did yesterday, day before yesterday. It happens, gone. That's it. It's past, and we don't want to live in the past. And it's okay if you could ask for help and make your present better.
Yes.
Because your future is dependent on your present.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you're messing up your present, your future is already messed up. So.
And I think that's the trap that most of givers, let's say, fall into, because you feel like you can incorporate everything from the outside. Because. And that's a vicious circle, because when people know that you are a giver and that you have this ability to help other people and to listen to them, you just can't say, okay, I'm full, I can't listen to you right now. And that's something like saying no. Is something like I need help. That's a way of saying I need help. But this is where ego starts, and this is why I smiled when you talked about that, because ego takes a lot of space in this situation. I see this like a battery, you've been drowned out of your battery because of what you give to others, but then when your battery is too low, you cannot ask, because you say, I'm not supposed to be the one who asks, I'm supposed to be the one who listens.
It's surprising, because I've talked about giving on with multiple different people. We had different examples, and it's one nice example that you shared also. We talked about oxygen mask in a flight, or let's say I have a glass that's empty. I cannot give out from an empty glass.
Exactly.
And I always say this to my friends, and probably I've never shared it here, is that if I'm trying to give something, acknowledge that you are going through something, but you're still going out of your own comfort zone to provide that. Because once you're a giver and people are accepting it, they wouldn't know that, okay, this is something you're going out of the way to do it. Because they'll say, okay, you have it and you're giving it, doesn't matter. But this I feel is a huge change. That I've tried to practice, and it was a huge change. So once you acknowledge that, okay, this is something I'm doing, even though I'm struggling with it, but I'm still trying to help you, and it's up to you. So you could just let the other person know that it's up to you. And you could decide if you want to take it, or you can ask around. Because let's say the same person is struggling and he asked like 5 different people, but you're depleted of what you could give. But the other people have, let's say, like they could all pitch in and then give the person what he needs.
Exactly.
So he or she needs. But at that point, you're thinking that, okay, am I the only one giving? I should give, because again, he or she may love me back or whatnot. But just whatever you do, acknowledge that this is something I'm doing beyond my capability, and it's up to you. You could, it's again.
Once you realize that, it's very powerful. It has a lot to do with guilt. That was a trap that I was falling into when I was like a 100% giver, let's say, because I was like, okay, if I'm in front of someone that I love and that is in pain, so my role is to first make them realize that they're in pain, because sometimes people don't want us to see that they're suffering, because this is easier to hide it. So I thought that my role was first to make them point out what was their issues, and that was the first main problem, because some people don't want you to point out what is wrong with them and what is happening in their lives. And I also thought that if I did not put all myself into helping them, I would feel so guilty, because that was my role. And that's the question about roles is something that has been very important to me in my, let's say, therapist journey, is because I realized that unless we make a switch, and that's something that I'm trying to do, we always play the same roles with the same person. Like, it's something that I've studied. It's called transactional analysis.
Okay.
It's like you have a role, and you tend to play just the exact same role with the exact same type of person. And this is what I found myself into, like having this role of trying to save one person from an issue that he or she didn't even realize it before, and putting all of my efforts to save that person and to make them feel better and to, you know, just carry them on my shoulders, even though they didn't want to be to be saved and to be held. And I was doing the exact same thing over and over with different types of person, and I realized, okay, maybe it's me. I'm having this specific role with this specific types of relationships, and on other parts of my life I'm playing a whole different role when it comes, I don't know, like education or work. I'm having a huge different phase. I'm having a huge different role. But with my relationships with others, I always had the same role. And what transactional analysis told me is that unless you change roles, you will always play the same roles with the same person. So you really have to face it, and to face this type of situation, this type of patterns. Something that I did that was really, really impactful is to see my relationships with others as an outside observer, and see, like, being very objective. Okay, what has been done? What was the origin of this encounter? What was the beginning of the relationship? How much effort did I put? How much effort did the other person put? Was it unbalanced or balanced? And if it was unbalanced, how things went on from one another, and how did we ended up being like this whole mess?
Okay.
And that was something very, very important, to be very objective, and talking about facts. And once you take this little step back, and you see your relationships as a outside observer, you can push yourself away from these roles and learning new roles.
Okay. I see two aspects of it again. Everything has two aspects, but when you look as an outsider, you already see, okay, this is the problem that's happening, this is the problem, and that's where you jump on to helping.
Exactly.
But because you said objectively, not doing anything, just to see objectively and see, okay, what is wrong and what is not, do you also convey the same problems to the person who's there?
Sorry, say it again.
Like, because you've observed the person objectively, okay, these are all the problems, and you're not doing any actions, right? You're not taking any actions because you're just observing it objectively. How would, like, let's say, if it's your problem or something that you should work on, you would work. But how would the other person, again,
change
at that point? Yeah.
Well, no, maybe I've said it incorrectly, but this outside observer is something that I did after a difficult relationship. It's very hard while you are in this tunnel of a hard relationship. It's very hard to take a step back because the thing about being a giver also is that you're really into actions. It's very hard to be analytical when you are rooted into a hard or a toxic relationship. So that's that thing about the outside observer is something that I did afterwards. After seeing all these patterns being repeated
over and over.
And so, okay, maybe it's not that I'm with toxic people. Maybe it's because I have something to deal with. And this is how, back to our original point, this is how I started to reflect on my relationship with myself. And this is the issue that I've been seeing on many people's relationships in my relatives, that they don't take the time to look at themselves and to spend time with themselves and to interact with themselves, because we're not being told that this is a goal in life. We're being told that the goal in life is to be with someone and to, like, the when you think about the greatest moments of someone's life in general, it's like their marriage, when the birth of kids, and everything that is related to other people. You would never hear someone say, okay, the greatest moment of my life is, I don't know, when I went to this meditation stuff with myself and only talk to myself. People usually tend to see the greatest moment of their life.
It's people oriented.
Yeah, exactly. We're being told since we're very young to be people oriented.
It's funny because I used to talk about, when I started, I was talking about self-care and self-love, and people were like, is it, you mean we should be selfish? There's a difference between selfish, if I have to say, the thin line between being selfish and caring, because we treat ourselves so badly.
Yeah.
And you don't even realize how badly you treat. Let's say, I've just given an example that, let's say you mess up something. You curse yourself so bad, how could you do this? And you're frustrated, you're angry. Let's say if, someone else did it, you're like, it's okay, it's life. And you become a guru. I don't know, all of a sudden you become someone who's an advisor and whatnot. It's okay, it happens, it's life and everything. But you treat yourself so badly and start, abusing yourself, being frustrated and everything. And that we never realize. And we do it over and over, over and over, and again. And that piles up.
Yeah.
That, okay, I do this every single time. Or it happens. Or it's just me.
Yeah.
And then that's...
Here comes the vicious circle. That's even in the definition that you said. We're being told that selfish is a bad word.
Selfish is a bad word.
Selfish is a bad word. Yeah. While it should be at the basis of any relationship with others. It's we think that being selfish means only thinking about yourself and caring about yourself. But I've been debating with my father about this topic, about being selfish.
Me too, actually. This thing was with my father, but
and we had this conversation about being selfish, and I was like, it's not a bad word that you want to take care of yourself, because if you if you keep cursing yourself, if you keep blaming yourself for things that you would not blame others for, then how can you even imagine that you will have healthy relationships with others? But that's easy to say, but we don't learn how to do it.
I think I think that's why we're doing this. That's why we want to put out this message that it's okay to spend time on yourself, to take care of yourself. And if you don't take care of yourself, no one else would do it.
Yeah, and it's necessary.
And it's necessary, and it's life, because you might have seen your friend circle might change. Your relationships with your family might change. You move to a different city, but at the end, you are yourself. You are with yourself, and no one would actually come and it's like, okay, are you doing okay, and whatnot. So
that's why I really think that we should have, when we started this thing, we talked about how we define relationships, and automatically we don't think about relationship to ourselves, because when I say to you, let's think about a relationship, you will imagine two person at least or more. But you never imagine relationship as being with yourself, while it should be the basis of everything. A relationship that you're building is first and before everything with you. And that's not selfish to say that. It's completely necessary. And I'm saying this now, but if you would have asked me this 2 or 3 years ago, I would have never said this, because I thought that my worth and my qualities were depending on
other people.
On other people's.
I think that's how the society functions.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I have to say this or not, but my family always feels that I need someone who would complete me.
Yeah. You're
Why?
Half a person.
Yeah, and I tell them I am already happy, and I'm doing things that I love the most. And it's okay. Maybe, when I have to settle, I'll settle. But now I'm by myself, and and I just want to put this out also. You don't need anyone else. yes, you live in a society, it's cohabitation, you know,
Yeah.
you're responsible of each other sometimes, and it's okay. But what if I'm not my own self? Like, you know, and I'm always seeking someone's, okay, probably this person would make me happy, this person, I'm always searching. No,
Yeah.
that wouldn't actually make me complete, that wouldn't make me who I am.
That's really also another interesting debate on, are we supposed to be fulfilled by a relationship or fulfilled by ourselves?
Yeah.
And this is something that is, I was watching a video right before we started about that's a little example, but people not wanting to have to have children. This is still debated. Like, you need to justify yourself for choosing a lifestyle, and that's terrible. Like, what if, like, if I say to you, I want to spend the rest of my life alone, like, if I say this to someone else in the street, they will probably, but you're mad.
Yeah.
We're made to be like, and it's in the pop culture. Like, you're searching for your other half, your soulmate. What if my soulmate is me? Like, and that's a process. I'm not saying that.
But that's a
100% positive about being my own soulmate. But it's the journey, and you have to start somewhere. And I really realized that if I want to have healthy relationships, but whether it is at work, with my family, with my friends, with my lovers, and that's what you said, everything changes, but there's one like center, that there's one point where everything else gravitates around. That's your relationship with yourself. And you have to figure it out, like a relationship, not like, but that's the most important thing that you can cherish. And it goes from taking care of yourself, like mentally, physically, and saying kind things to you. I'm not into this positive attitude thing, because that's not objective. You have bad days where you struggle to say positive things about yourself, but you have to try it over and over and over and over again, and say every day in the mirror, like, I'm a great person, I'm beautiful, I'm smart, I'm everything that you can say about yourself.
These positive affirmations, I've probably shared multiple videos before too. These are super life-changing. Because it's not just you saying, it changes your thought process.
Yes, exactly.
And it makes you more confident, makes you more proud, makes you more see yourself in a way that probably you were not seeing it before. And these affirmations make a huge difference. And I'm already having goosebumps, but I always give an example, that just say, because we always count the negative things, right?
Yes.
Once you do something positive, just pat on your back and repeat, just like, say your name, that I'm proud of you, and with your name, you already feel that it's like that, like it's something huge. And these tiny affirmations would actually contribute to how your overall day goes, and then again, days, weeks, months, years. It adds up, because you're trying to eliminate the negativity. Yes, as you mentioned, there are good days and bad days. It's okay. That's life. Like, I told actually last time that if you have a constant life, everything in life, it's boring, right? Because I know, okay, I'm doing this 9 to 5. No.
Routine stuff.
It's nothing good. So it's boring. So yeah, I mean, it's good to have change. It's good to have things that revolve around. It's okay to have good days, and also bad days. And those bad days, you learn from those bad days and probably and sometimes you don't even have to learn. You just it's just okay. It's just a bad day. That's it.
And once you realize that a bad day will only be, there's a big friend of mine that wrote this one day. She said, the moment you realize that one bad day will only be one bad day, is super powerful. Even though it lasts for a week, when you realize that it's just gonna be one minute, it's just gonna be one tiny moment, I have to accept it. I figure it out like a wave. Just accepting that you're going, this wave is going into you, but letting it go. Once it's gone, it's gone.
It's gone.
Not living into this like rumination and grumpiness. And this is to your point about cherishing the positive, this is why gratitude helps me a lot. It's because it's really hard to forget about the positive stuff in your day, in what you've done, like little achievements. And back to our point too, you don't live in a constant world of appreciation and validation.
You self-appreciate yourself.
You need to be self-appreciative, and that's how gratitude helps me a lot, to just put take 5 minutes every day to just write, okay, what happened to me yesterday, or what did I do yesterday, or what have I lived yesterday that make me feel grateful. It can be things that I've done, that I've seen, that other people told me, but I need to pause and to think about it, because otherwise I will forget about it, and I will just remember the negative parts of my day. And that's
sorry, I smile because I always say take a pause and feel.
Yeah.
All the podcasts, most of the people I talk to, I'm not sure if I should have had the podcast name as Pause.
Pause and feel.
Pause and feel. But yeah, I think it's the most common topic that I come back. Like it's more like for every single thing in life, I think if you just take a pause and feel, like a lot of things would be clear.
Yes.
A lot of
the good
things.
and the bad.
The good and the bad.
And if you pause, like for example, anxiety crisis. If you pause at this very specific moment, you can just take a step back and lower down the impact of of this anxiety crisis. And it also has nice effects that I've learned in therapy. So I will owe this to my therapist.
Okay.
When you pause and feel, let's call it this way, when you pause and feel. You force your brain to stop having automatical responses. Like my therapist used to say something like, you have a big bus of like you have automatical responses, and on the back of the bus you have like adaptative responses.
Okay.
And when you pause and feel, you get out of these automatic responses.
And let that
Let's say you have to think about something that I can say to you that will make you angry. And you have the choice to, if I say this thing to you, you have the choice, one, to be like, to have the same response as you usually do, and be angry and be mad at me and yell at me. Or if you pause and feel, after I say this thing to you, you can say, okay, how am I supposed to react now? How do I want to react? What do I want to remember of this moment, like in 1 year, 10 years, 30 years? And this whole moment where you start to think about, you force your brain to have adaptive responses, and there's quite a fair amount of chances that you will have another response that you would normally do. You know, there's this thing when you say, I said it without meaning it. I said it too quickly.
Yeah.
But because you didn't force your brain to pause and feel. And think just 2 seconds. Yeah. It can be like just a small.
It makes a huge difference.
Yes.
I'll share a story that happened with me. I was in the forest. We were doing this meditative session, and I went with a co-passenger, so who was driving me, and then I was in the session. That's why I couldn't understand he was waiting or not. I came back from the session. He was super frustrated, angry, and I got on the car, and then we started driving, and there was an awkward silence, and I was keeping my cool, and then he all of a sudden busted out.
Really?
And he's like, no. He's like a machine gun. So everything over. I still am calm. I'm listening to him, and I'm sharing this because a lot of people can do this, and you'll instantly feel a huge difference. So I listened to everything he said, and I said, "Can I add?" He said, "Okay," because he was expecting I would burst out or I would try to defend myself. I said, "Okay, I acknowledge whatever you said, but those are your feelings.
Yes.
And I appreciate you sharing."
Yep.
This all together made a huge difference because that person was expecting me to defend myself and start fighting, and I'm not sure what. That's human mentality.
Yeah.
So when I told him that I acknowledge your feelings and I appreciate that you like shared what you feel, but in the process, he also shared that things that didn't even mean at this moment.
Yeah.
He started pointing out on my personal life, like this.
Okay.
Then I explained him. So yes, I understand you're frustrated, but you're mixing emotions.
Yes.
What you're feeling right now doesn't even have to do what.
Yes.
And I appreciate again whatever you shared.
Yeah.
And you're doing pinpointing on my personal life that doesn't even make sense. But if you have to do it, do it because you are the one who's speaking.
Yes.
I'm just listening.
Yeah,
It doesn't matter to me anyways. And all of a sudden that
that
guy,
changed the dynamic.
yeah, he realized what happened. He took a step back.
Exactly.
And then he was like, okay, I'm sorry for what I've
Yeah.
said. Because once you're angry, the only thing is because your brain is super rushing.
Yeah.
And you just want to let it out. Doesn't matter. You're not thinking. When you take a pause and feel and say, okay, this is what I'm actually feeling.
Yeah.
And you could clearly say, okay, I'm feeling this and this is because of this, instead of no, you have this, or no, this or this. So you don't mix up emotions, you just feel and say what you feel.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
That's a very interesting thing. It all boils down to what I was saying to you, like being an observer. And not responding on the same frequency as the person shouted out to you. You have to, it's all about choices. You have the choice, and you can make the decision of responding on the exact same frequency, but I will only add up the anger, and it'll
continue.
Listen to that person.
It'll continue. It'll just it's again toxic. And I also wanted to say this because when you say toxic relationship, it's not just again with your loved person or like a boyfriend or girlfriend. It could be any relationship. It could be any relationship. Could be something happening in the family. You think like I spoke this last time. You think that out of love you're restricting your children, but sometimes you over restrict, and that love becomes a cage, and you're not letting your kids or like your loved one actually be free, because you're holding that. You think that if I do this they'll be with me or whatnot. So it's again relationship toxic. If it's toxic, it's not just
not at all
husband wife or just boyfriend girlfriend. Could be anything.
Family toxic relationships. It's even harder to realize it, because if you are being raised in a certain way, you have to put a lot of effort to realize that maybe it was toxic. And once you are aware of that, it's even harder to continue with life, because you cannot say to your parents or your, let's say, your brothers and sisters, oh, you've been doing this with me. It's wrong. You've been raising me this way. And we're not talking about very difficult abuse and stuff, but let's say
a normal
like the normal relationships and normal education. Sometimes the more you grow up, you see that there have been some toxic parts of it, and that your parents or your relatives have had traumas in the past that they're putting back on you by the way they raised you. What do you do with this? And it's something that is even harder to deal with it, because getting out of a toxic relationship, at the end eventually you manage to do it
because you're not attached. But now
to this person.
but here you're your family. It's so difficult. It's
when you learn how to see your parents as human beings and not only your parents, that helps. And that is my number one lesson about healing from let's say toxic parts of a family relationship, is seeing your parents as just normal human beings with their traumas, with their backgrounds. And I want that's what I used to say a lot. They did their best the way they could at some point with the resources they had at some point of their life. And by saying this to myself, I'm saying, okay, maybe they did not raise me perfectly, but what could be a perfect way to raise children? So even though some of their behavior was maybe toxic or didn't help me being like a proper self-confident human being, they did their best. And I think that's a great way to get out of toxic relationships.
All right. Thanks for that, Mano. And so coming back to the original question,
yes,
how do you feel? I mean, we have talked multiple things about different aspects of a relationship, and what would, again, it would be different for everyone.
Yeah.
I'm asking just for you, let's say, what would be an ideal relationship for you, which is non-toxic, which is, you could say that, okay, this is I'm comfortable with, and this is something, probably others could also kind of a benchmark, kind of a benchmark that, okay, benchmark of relationships. So if someone is going through that, they would know, okay, if this is toxic or if this is not toxic. So like a identification.
Yeah. Oh, that's very hard to identify what is a toxic relationship versus a healthy relationship, since it's dependent on how you feel with yourself. But I think back to my original point of, I said that relationships were about interactions, interaction with others, interaction with yourself, and we agreed on the fact that we should have like a relationship with ourselves first. So an ideal relationship to me, it's one word. It's humility. I don't know. It's a great English word. Like humbleness. It's about saying to yourself and saying to others that you're not perfect, but you acknowledge that you're not perfect, and that you're trying to figure out a way to accept yourself. If you and being humble is not something fixed. It's something that evolves during all your life. And I think this is the only way to have an ideal relationship, is to be very humble about yourself, and very humble about the person in front of you. Let's say for a love relationship or a friendship, acknowledging that this person has traumas, but also acknowledging that you will not be able to save that person from all their traumas, and that's fine. That's really good. If they need help, they will ask it.
They would ask, and they could take care of themselves. I mean, again, if each person takes care of themselves, it's like already the job done.
But you need to be humble enough to say, I need to take care of myself. And I have to take care of myself. And you need to be humble enough to say, I have these issues, I have these traumas, I need to not get rid of them, but accept them. And in order to be fulfilled, I need to be with myself, like the best giver for myself. And for that you need to be very, very, very humble, because a lot of people would say, I don't need to spend time with myself. I'm already like a rock star. I'm already like I'm gonna build businesses because that's my goal in life. Okay, but take a step back. Do you care about yourself? What do you do in your everyday life that brings you energy, that brings you joy, that brings you power? And do you give a good amount of these activities in your everyday life? If not, you're not taking care of yourself. But you have to be humble enough to say, this is what I need, and this is what I have to do in order to have healthy relationships. And also you need to be humble about what you do for others. You're not like a hero. You're not a super. Not.
And I told you, like, the ego comes in, and you already feel that, okay, I'm like a hero. I'm doing everything. I don't need.
It has lots of ends. When you feel like you're a superhero, you run out of your battery, and then you end up being caught in a vicious circle. And we all know, like, this has nothing of only bad endings. So about being humble. That will be, for me, a perfect relationship, about what you can do, what you have to do for others, for yourself first, if you're humble, and also if you communicate. I connect those two words, like being humble and communicate with yourself. Like, this is what we talked about, gratitude and expressing gratefulness for yourself for what you've done, and also communicate with partners in general. Again, we're not only talking about love relationships, communication and saying, okay, I accept you the way you are. I may not agree with you on everything that you do, but I acknowledge what you experienced. I acknowledge what you've said to me, and thank you for sharing.
I wanted to add this communication part. I mean, this could be an episode all by itself. Yes, I always say, and I've been talking to people who are going through relationship crisis or whatnot. I've seen relationships on the verge of breaking up.
Yeah.
The only suggestion I give is just go communicate.
Yeah.
Express your feelings.
Yes.
And just don't jump on what other person has to say.
Yeah.
Because we always have this feeling of anticipation that, oh, you would say that. Oh, no, I know your next question, or I know your next answer. Oh, okay, it's okay. Relax. Take a pause.
Yeah.
Express once, it's your turn. Express your feelings, how you feel, and also acknowledge what they have to share.
Yes.
We have this tendency of just listening to answer, to react.
Yeah, exactly.
Not to listen.
Yeah, this is why this is all about being humble again. Like, not suggesting that you know what the person is gonna say, and that's a whole. That's a whole topic. Like, just listening for listening. And that's putting aside your ego.
Literally seen problems being solved just by, and it's not just about love relationship. It can be anything.
Yeah.
Once you're able to receive.
Yes.
And acknowledge. Yes. They're not, what you see is maybe a 6 for you and a 9 for other person, but you can come together and say, okay, we could do things that could work out for both of us.
Yes. How do you make things working out together without forgetting yourself, and without supposing that you know what the person wants and needs and will say. So communication.
And I would like to thank you for all this brilliant
thing to you.
Knowledge on relationships, and I think you should send it to your dad, and I should send it to my dad.
Yes.
Because I believe the younger generation is learning more about these things thanks to social media. Again, social media is good.
Yeah, it has
and bad.
Great parts and
So what you choose also makes a huge difference. What you choose also makes a huge difference. But the ideology for this generation is changing.
Yes.
And I see positive. Again, I'm not talking about the TikTok generation. So
no.
Sorry, but I'm saying the people who are more into listening to one's own self, spirituality and whatnot.
Yes, exactly.
And I would also, with this medium, want people to learn more about it.
Yes.
And especially the older generation also, because it could also be bi-directional, not just one directional. So I mean, if we could, as you said, right, if you could help someone, and if you could offer help, why not? Our parents should also be able to receive that help.
Yes.
Because they always feel that I am the giver.
Yeah.
And you should receive it.
That will end up like this, because once we're talking about dads, I would just end up like this. We had this type of conversation with my dad, and I've been seeing him evolving for the last year in such a positive way, and about expressing feelings, about being grateful, about changing his perspectives on relationships, on dependence, on... And I'm so happy that we have now this really nice relationship together.
Nice.
And we are in a state of bi-dimensional friendship and teaching. So I'm very proud of it, because we talked a lot.
I could see
that's why I was smiling, because I've seen him evolving so much, and he's been going through a lot, and he's worked so hard, and I know that our conversation helped him figuring out stuff in his life. And I'm so happy to see that. Yeah, this is not only like you're my dad, you're teaching me stuff, but it's also the other way around, and it has great impacts.
And I completely agree to your point, being humble. If you're humble, doesn't matter age. Again, age doesn't matter when you have to learn and when you have to absorb, when you have to receive. So yes, like our parents basically have always given.
Yeah, exactly.
It's also this perspective of sometimes just receiving. It's okay to receive.
Yes. Yeah.
It's okay to receive.
Exactly.
And that's what I've understood as I started from my meditative process. I'm like, okay, I've never done that.
It's okay to receive.
It feels different. Yeah. It feels good, and it's okay.
Yes, exactly.
It's okay to receive. Okay. Yeah. And I generally, it's a tradition that I end this on a last question. Yeah. That is like, what would you like to change? One thing in your life, like could be health, professional, relationship, or anything that is in your list, but you've never got a chance to work, or you want to do it. You're like on it, like something that really pushes you, and you want to do it.
Something that I want to change concerning myself or concerning my life in general?
In general, like could be, okay, I want to learn something. I want to do this. I want to start a podcast.
That's what I wanted to say. I want to, and it has effects, like side effects. I want to start talking about these things that, like the way we did.
Okay.
Because I have a self-image issue that's been with me for a very long time. And I found myself energized when I'm giving advices, when I'm talking about these topics. It's really fulfilling for me. And I feel like it could be a way to accept myself, accepting my personality the way it is. So I think this is what I would change, like starting to talk more and more openly about these topics, because on the one hand, maybe it could help one or two people, and that would please my people, please decide. And also because I think it will help me with my self-image, and that's a big issue that's been on the top of my list.
That's beautiful, because my first or second podcast, I said the same thing, because I had this doubt, or like as you always wanted appreciation, right? I was in that boat, as I mentioned. I'm no longer, but again, I had this self-doubt that why would someone listen to me?
Yeah.
But I wanted to always I wanted to provide this information. I wanted to bring what I know. And I'm doing that right now. I'm trying to meet people who are like already making an impact in life. And we fail to acknowledge that. We see so many people around, and like so much of inspiration.
Yeah, that's what you said to me. Inspiration is everywhere.
Inspiration is everywhere, and we tend to just only see the competitive aspect of it, which is good. Yeah. But you could also learn.
Learn from others.
If I always say that I am the best one in the room, then probably I'm in the wrong room. Right? I'm in the wrong room, and I should probably move to another room. So,
yes.
Well. Thank you again for your time,
much for having me.
Much appreciated. First
podcast. So thank you for making me
so beautiful.
This highway.
And I would certainly say it didn't look like your first. It's so probably we'll hear more from you.
I hope so. Thank you very much.
Thanks again, and enjoy your time in Montreal.
Yeah, thank you.
You want to say something for Montreal?
Oh, say something from
Montreal, yeah.
I love this city so much. It's an amazing city. People are so nice. I'm gonna leave here someday.
What if I turn the camera? Would your reaction be the same?
Sorry?
If I turn the camera off, would your reaction?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. I'm just kidding. All right. Thank you, Manon.
Thank you, Abby.